Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And did you know that we get a bunch of service calls per year from people who didn't even hire us? That means they originally hired someone else to replace their siding, gutters, and windows. Then later, when a problem popped up, they tried to call their contractor back to fix it, only to find out that the contractor has ceased to exist. They're gone, done, out of business. At RGS Exteriors, we've been serving Utah for 70 years. As a fifth-generation owned contractor, we've got customers who are the grandkids of our customers we had in the 1950s and 60s. We're not going anywhere. We will be here when you need us, period. For siding, gutters, and windows, now and forever, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit at rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's a nice and quiet drive on the Valley freeways. You have good speeds, no accidents. Our main secondaries are also in good shape. If you're traveling up to the higher elevations, no problems reported on I-80 through the canyon or into Summit County. The Crossroads of the West Gun Show comes to Ogden this weekend at the Weber County Fairgrounds. Get great deals on guns. Plus, you can buy, sell, or trade at the show. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy, south winds, and a high in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Then a storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. We're at 56 degrees under partly cloudy skies right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, it is a tale of dueling border visits today. Playing just outside of Texas as both the current president, Joe Biden, and the former president, Donald Trump, are making appearances, speaking with officials, and of course, they both will be holding press conferences. The question beyond the headlines of the day is, will there be any substantive progress or any kind of policy proposals put in place in the near future that can better handle all the chaos at the border? Political stunt, pathway to policy. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it is an election year, and both the current and the former occupant of the White House have some positioning and posturing to do when it comes to dealing with immigration and security at the southern border. Is all of it theatrics? Is all of it just a political stunt and play by both the current and the former president? It might be. I think there's a lot to argue and debate in terms of all of that, but let's take a listen. We'll give everybody their fair shot and shake at making the case as to why they're at the border today. Let's start with some commentary by Utah Representative Blake Moore, who made a statement criticizing the current occupant of the White House for his visit to the border.
Okay, so President Trump decides he's going to go down to the border, so 2 or 3 days later, President Biden decides to go down to the border. That is what the American people will take from this. And it's disheartening to know that that is the case from what we've seen with the emphasis that our president has put on this crisis. Given the devastating crisis that has unfolded at our border and seeped into communities, this should not be the president's, it shouldn't be only his second visit to the border. He should have been all over this the last 3 years.
So, again, the political posturing there to be sure. The reality, the fact, it is just the second stop down there for President Biden during the administration. So that's a legitimate criticism that I think can be levied there. Let's go to the White House press briefing yesterday. And Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who was asked what she would say to those who were saying, hey, this is a political move for one. Is it a political move for all?
Here's what I would say. On the first day of this president administration, he put out a comprehensive immigration policy to deal with this issue. He did that on the first day. That was his first piece of legislation. I would hope the American people would see how serious this president was or is about fixing this issue. Not only that, spent 4 months having a bipartisan conversation, doing negotiations to come up with a bill, and that's because of the president's direction of what he was able to do because he got involved and worked with Republicans and Democrats in the Senate.
All right, so some of the components there from the press secretary. It is true that bipartisan work was being done. It did get scuttled primarily through the influence of the former president and the former occupant of the White House. So that's legitimate in terms of that conversation. One other person we want to weigh in, President of the Border Patrol Union, Brandon Judd, was critical of President Biden's visit today, particularly his choice to visit Brownsville, Texas, rather than many of those areas that had seen far greater numbers in terms of migrants crossing every day.
And the reason why Border Patrol agents are so upset about this visit is because he's not going to any location where he's going to be able to evaluate what he needs to do. What are the policies? What are the programs that need to go into place? And he's not going to be able to do that in Brownsville. If he would have went to San Diego, if he would have went to Tucson, if he would have come out here to Eagle Pass, if he would have went to the trouble locations, he would have been able to get a little bit more understanding and evaluate the situation to come up with it.
So, again, there's lots to dissect and work our way through there. But let's just be to the equal opportunity offense category. That's where I'm going to play today. I think this is political on both sides. And I actually think Nikki Haley, who was here in town yesterday, got it right when she criticized both the current and the former president, that they both have had opportunities to do things that would make a difference on the border, and neither did or has. And I think that's a legitimate conversation and legitimate criticism, not hyper-partisan. In fact, it's pretty equal opportunity offending, which we promote. So to me, the bigger question is, how do we have a different kind of conversation about it? Both sides have to deal with this. It's becoming a more important issue for the American people, but it's all about how we do it. And I remain convinced we could solve most of this in an afternoon on the floor of the House and the Senate because everybody agrees. Everybody agrees we need to have a secure border. Everyone knows we need to have a better entry-exit system. Everyone knows that we need to have better processing for those who are applying for asylum. We know we need to have more green card access and a better process there. And you can go on down the list. There's a myriad of things that everybody agrees on that can be done, that should be done, that ought to be done, but is not getting done for pure politics. Because both sides have decided that they're better off with the political issue and the opportunity to score political points than they are to actually solve the problem and pass good policy. And that's the deal. It's really that simple. We talked just a little bit ago, some new polling that was out from our friend Scott Rasmussen, and there is this sweet spot in the country. And it's a real simple phrase, and 68% of Americans agree with it, that legal immigration is good for America, and illegal immigration is bad for America. 68% of the country believes that. Not many 68% issues you can find these days, but immigration happens to be one of them. And when we finally get past the politics of it all and we start to recognize that rule of law and compassion are compatible principles, there's no country anywhere that's more compassionate than the United States. We know how to do that. We know how to deal with it. And we're a nation of laws. And we know how to respect and uphold those. So it's not a matter of skill power. It's a matter of political willpower and who will lead. And I'm watching all the screens in the newsroom right now, and they're all showing currently the current president standing at the border, talking to agents. Much will be said, not much will be done. We'll watch the former president in just a few minutes from another place in Texas. The shot will look almost the same. In fact, the people might even be the same. The conversation will probably be the same. But then what's going to be reported out is how divided we are as a nation when it comes to immigration and the border. And so what you all need to think again about today is don't believe it. The American people are actually very united on this. Rule of law and compassion are compatible principles. And when both sides are willing to lay down the political points and posturing and all the money they raise for their political campaigns on immigration and border security and sit down at the table and have a conversation on pure principles and pure policy, this issue of immigration and border security will be done because it will be solved. We can do this. We should do this. Who will lead and actually help us actually do it? That'll be the big question. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. When winter weather strikes.
Terrible conditions from snow lingering from the overnight hours.
KSL has you covered.
One of our listeners said it took him an hour to get from Lehigh to Draper this morning.
Don't let the sun fool you. The next blast of winter comes this weekend. Get an accurate forecast every 10 minutes on the 9s.
On KSL News Radio.
Well, you've heard me talking about it for a couple of weeks now, but I hit my soda weight loss goal, and I actually went a little bit beyond it. I aimed for 65, and I lost almost 70 pounds in 5 months. So soda's done with me, right? Not on your life. This is where soda really starts to add value to their weight loss program. Soda stands for state of the art, and listen to this. They're not letting go of me. In fact, their goal is to help me keep it off now for the rest of my life. So I get to continue to meet with my nutritionist, Kristen, and they're teaching me how to keep going as I re-add the foods that I've been avoiding during the weight loss portion. I mean, there's a reason that soda is the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. Check out the proof. You can just look at me, or you can go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com, and check out the 8,500 plus 5-star reviews. I look good, I feel good, and that's thanks to Soda Weight Loss. Soda Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Imagine playing a game where the rules change every quarter or every halftime. In the back of one of the few remaining stores where you can buy technology is a pile of displays for past products. Most of the companies and products they're selling do not exist anymore. The rules of the game are always changing. What is popular and usable today is dated and gone tomorrow. Companies with teams that continuously adapt to the complexity of the world are the ones that survive. Adaptive teams listen and learn from each other so that when the market changes, they change too. Learn more about what the best teams do in an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Asante came to TurboTax after graduating from culinary school and landing a job in the hottest kitchen in town.
My hands are full all day, every day. I love it.
Asante, as your TurboTax expert, I'll make your moves count, guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and your maximum refund. Sound good?
Yes, expert.
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the state of Utah will be able to negotiate with other states for water rights under a bill that's just passed the legislature. Second, there's an agreement in Congress that will allow a spending bill to keep the government funded for the next few weeks at least. And third, President Biden went to the border with Mexico today, but the eyes of Texas are on the huge wildfires burning in the Panhandle. Right now, 56 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It is great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And, of course, as we continue to cover everything happening leading up to Super Tuesday, that includes all of us right here in the state of Utah. Everyone has an opportunity to stand up, speak out, vote in a wide range of ways. And so really pleased to have joining us back on the program. Rob Axon, of course, is the chair of the Utah Republican Party. And Rob, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Boyd. Always good to be with you.
All right, so as we march towards Super Tuesday, I think there are some people in the state who may be a little confused in the difference between a caucus night, a Super Tuesday vote, and a presidential preference poll. So give us some clarity there. Walk us through the process and what people need to do, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. We'll talk about some of the things you've been doing with your Democratic colleague as well. But what are the things that people need to know as we march towards March the 5th?
Yeah, March the 5th is Super Tuesday, so a number of states nationwide, including Utah, are expressing our preference as it pertains to the different presidential nomination process. So the Democrats, they'll be having a primary. The Republican Party this year, as we did back in 2016, and as the Democrats in Utah did back in 2016, we decided to do our nomination vote through caucus. Under state law, the parties get to decide which of those processes they decide, and we picked the caucus for a number of reasons. So the caucus will be happening on March 5th, and that's where any Utahn who is a registered Republican statewide can go to their local caucus, can participate. And this year we actually have a very streamlined and available absentee process as well. So if somebody's health or work or other commitments prevent them from attending caucus in person, they can still participate and express their preference on who they would like the Republican nominee for president to be.
All right, I think that's an important one because, again, some people say, oh, well, I can't be around or I've got to work. Some of us have to be in studio to cover the caucus, and so won't be able to attend the caucus. So tell people how they can go about that. Again, it have to be a registered Republican on the Republican side. Again, Democrats are having a primary this time around. And so if you're a Republican, you're registered, but you can't show up for caucus night, what's the process for that?
Here's the nice thing that we did this year is we streamlined it to be the same starting point. So that starting point is to go to our website, which is utgop.org. So utgop.org. You will see a pre-registration button. It's big and red right there on the homepage. You'll click that button, and it will take you about 30 seconds to maybe a minute to fill out your information just to check, one, that you are a registered voter, two, that you're a Republican, and then you get to say you'll be participating in person or you'll be participating absentee. And whichever one of those you select, the confirmation email that you will receive will give you the instructions. So it will provide you with the address and location of your precinct caucus, or it will tell you how you can submit that absentee ballot. So in your case, Boyd, if you're prevented from attending and you otherwise wanted to, you would go through that same utgop.org, select absentee when doing the pre-registration. You'll get the confirmation email to tell you what to do.
Okay, there you go. And that's as simple as that. That's on the Republican side. I want to take just a second, Rob, because I think some things that have been happening here in the state of Utah between the Republican state chair, and the Democratic state chair, there's been a lot of good conversations over the last several cycles and several years, and you're continuing that tradition. Give us some perspective in terms of the conversations you're having with your counterpart.
Yeah, great question. It's actually one of the very first things that I did after being elected as the state chair last April is I reached out to the Democrat chair, Diane Lewis. I found out they hadn't had their convention yet, so she wasn't reelected. So we put off our meeting for a couple of weeks until she was reelected. And then we had a number of phone calls and conversations starting clear back in May of last year throughout this year. And a couple of things that we've done in collaboration is we both selected March 5th as the day for caucus for both the Republican and the Democrat Party. And the reason that that was important to me, first and foremost, is this belief that our state is better with more civic engagement across the spectrum. And so having it all on one day encourages all of us to get the word out about caucus. And then you as a voter get to decide what party you want to go and caucus with. But the Republicans, the Democrats, a couple of other of the parties are all caucusing on March 5th. I think there's one or two parties that are doing a slightly different model this go around. But for the most part, March 5th is the date that you as a citizen get to step up and you get to decide how you want to participate. I would certainly encourage and welcome people that are Republicans to come and caucus with us.
All right. And again, I think this is one of the things we always talk about. If you want different, you got to do different, you got to be different, you got to act different, and it all begins by showing up. And caucus night is the opportunity to do that, as Rob Axon just described on the Republican side. All you have to do is go to their website, utahgop.org, put in your information.
utgop.org.
I'm sorry, utgop.org. utgop.org, and make sure we get you to the right place. That you can just register there. If you're going to do it absentee, if you can't show up on the evening, they'll walk you through the instructions there. It'll show you the location if you're going to be there on the night, and you'll be all set and ready to roll. And also, as Rob mentioned, whether you're a Republican and Democrat, there are a few of the other smaller parties that are also caucusing on the 5th. I agree. I think that's a great thing for all of us to do, regardless of political persuasion. I love it when everybody is showing up on the same day. Everyone's focused on that civic engagement and civic responsibility to be part of the process. Rob, anything else we should be thinking about marching towards Super Tuesday?
Yeah, I think the key thing to remember, especially for the caucus potential in any party, is in addition to the presidential, you have all of these other races happening in our state in 2024, from governor to members of Congress and an open Senate seat, certainly on the county level, the legislative level. Those races all are impacted by county and state delegates who are elected at the caucus. So the presidential piece is important. Come for that. But stick around and participate in the rest of it, too. That lets you have a voice. And what we like to say in the Republican Party this year is show up, be heard. Let your voice be heard in the entire process affecting all these races, which impact every aspect of your life.
I love that. And I'm so glad you pointed that out, Rob, because we do tend to get hyper-focused on the top of the ticket, the presidential candidates, but it really is the governor's race, the Senate race, the House members' races, the local county council, city council, and on down that ticket. Those are all going to be influenced by who shows up on caucus night. And so that's where the rubber really hits the road, and that's where the focus needs to be. Rob Axson is the chair of the Utah Republican Party. And Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, Boyd. Have a great day.
All right. Again, that's Rob Axson, chairman of the Utah Republican Party. And again, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or any of the other parties that are officially registered here in the state of Utah, many of them are having their caucuses on the same night, on Super Tuesday, March the 5th. Excuse me. So you can go to those websites and make sure you're registered. You know what path you're following there so that you can actually show up, speak up, and have your voice counted and your vote counted, because that's the name of the game. And I love that Rob Axson pointed out for us the fact that it's not just the top of the ticket stuff. It's easy to get hyper-focused on the presidential race. We get that. But it's all that down ballot stuff that's going to impact your world, your family, your neighborhood, and community more than anything else. And so make sure you're there and part of that process. It is our civic duty, and we hope you do it with a bit of civic charity as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside for some bottom-of-the-hour news, but don't go anywhere. More Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio. Stick around.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Salt Lake City has officially submitted its bid for the 2034 Winter Olympics. The application was sent at a ceremony this morning attended by Salt Lake City's Mayor Aaron Mendenhall and Governor Spencer Cox.
This is a submission that will make the citizens of Utah proud. We are well represented, and we're so excited to hopefully be all together on Pioneer Day in Paris, signing the agreement that makes it official for Utah to be the host state and Salt Lake City to be the host city.
The Salt Lake City Committee for the Games says they hope to be formally awarded the Games in the next few months. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Congress is halfway toward avoiding a government shutdown, with the House approving yet another temporary spending bill. But this bill is more temporary than others. ABC's Andy Field explains.
Despite the new week-long spending extension, Republican Thomas Massey says they're not serious about solving the problem.
Will we stay here and work hard for another week to get the 12 bills done, the 12 separate appropriations bills? No. Guess what we're going to do this evening? Everybody's already got their plane tickets.
Which then gives Congress only 4 days when it returns to avoid another government shutdown. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment. The Dow has crossed into positive territory now, and the NASDAQ is up by about 110 points. And our weather, clouds will be building up, but the temperatures will stay warm until Saturday. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Would you like to be part of an important research study and receive up to $550? The Beehive study at the University of Utah is comparing how well 2 different FDA-authorized booster vaccines protect people against COVID-19. You can decide to get a booster or not and still participate. By joining the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for completing activities such as weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at www.beehivestudy.com.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands, and that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We have a single vehicle crash on the ramp from northbound I-15 to go westbound I-80. There may also be a fuel spill in the area, which means hazmat will come to the scene. Right now, only one officer there. Watch for more emergency crews arriving if you're getting ready to go from I-15 to westbound I-80. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, cloudy with south winds, highs in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Then Saturday, a storm moves in. Rain will change to snow by Sunday. Right now, 56 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson.
On Utah's home for elevated conversation.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
As we covered on the show yesterday and have been following throughout the day today, longtime Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell is going to step down from his role in leadership after the November election. And as we look at his legacy and what happens, of course, in politics, it's not about what is or what was. It's always about what's next. And what's next is already on the horizon in terms of who will succeed Mitch McConnell to lead the Republicans in the Senate. And someone who's been taking a deep dive look at that, Anthony Adragna, congressional reporter with Politico, was the lead author of Politico's Congressional Minutes. And Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So as we look at this, of course, the legacy of Mitch McConnell was very iron-fisted, very strong, whether he was the minority leader, the majority leader, back to the minority leader. and no one could ever, you could question him on a lot of things. I incurred his wrath on a number of things when I was in Washington, but I never had to question his commitment to the institution of the Senate. That was always front and center in everything that he did. And so now we have this really long window in terms of some jockeying and some positioning in terms of what is next on the horizon for the Republicans. Give us your sense.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. We're looking at an 8-month or so process at this point. Folks are already jumping in, already making phone calls. But obviously the field of those that may be looking to succeed, Senator McConnell is not set. Senator Rick Scott, for example, today told me that he's expecting a large number of folks to ultimately jump into the race. I think, everybody's focused on the quote-unquote 3 Johns here, 3 Republican senators named John. But I think we'd be surprised if there weren't other folks that ultimately jumped in the race as well.
Yeah, and Senator Rick Scott is an interesting one in that he did challenge Mitch McConnell last time around for that leadership role. And so we'll come back to him in a moment. But let's start with the 3 Johns. They're all interesting, and they all have some unique perspective to them, I think, in terms of their positioning for this. So we, of course, have the Minority Whip, John Thune, the former Whip, John Cornyn, and then the conference chair, John Barrasso from Wyoming. Let's go through each one of them in terms of maybe some pluses and minuses or some unique components, starting with John Thune, Republican out of South Dakota.
Well, look, I think Senator Thune is a well-known commodity, both among the press here on Capitol Hill, but also among his colleagues. He's built strong bipartisan relationships. He's obviously been serving as the number 2 for McConnell for the last couple of years. He has, a depth of relationships here that I think would lead him to start out as sort of the prohibitive favorite. He's been critical of the former president at times, although he has endorsed him now. So that's probably going to be a knock against him as this contest shapes up.
Yeah, and I think that is interesting. And in my time there, he was always the one out of the leadership who at least had a little more of a communication strategy focus, where I think John Cornyn was more of just kind of a where do we find the right policy thing. And so talk to us about John Cornyn. Of course, he was the minority whip for some time, and then they had a term limit component there with the Republicans. So what is it that he brings back to the table as he tries to move back into that kind of position?
Well, look, I think he brings a lot of the same sort of political instincts that McConnell has brought to the position. He's served as the head of the NRSC a couple of times, and is no stranger to sort of the partisan bare-knuckle brawls of trying to win back a majority. I think that's probably going to be an asset for him. He's also known as somebody that can get things done. He obviously helped play a major role in compromised gun legislation that got passed last year. So he's able to sort of wear the partisan hat at times, but also enjoys kind of the ability to work across the aisle, something that may or may not be an asset as we go into this race.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, let's go to the doctor in the House, or in the Senate, we should say, John Barrasso from Wyoming. Definitely more under the radar than the other 2, but someone who is known for having the conversations and getting to the policy issues.
Absolutely. And, he's been a partisan sort of a political messenger. He's always on point with his talking points. And, I think he's probably going to be viewed as the most conservative of the 3 Johns, if you will. He's been a staunch supporter of President Trump, was one of the first members of Republican leadership this time around to endorse the former president. So I think that's something that he's going to be looking to argue. No question that Wyoming's looking to punch above its weight in terms of a state of that size. And Senator Barrasso, no doubt, is going to be a very viable contender as this process unfolds.
For sure. We're a little biased out here, but we like pulling the polar spaces a little more towards the west. So
sure.
Even though there's not a lot of people in Wyoming, they do count, and I think he would actually have some interesting perspective to add in that role. Give us some of the others, and you pointed out a few of these in your piece, including a Rick Scott. Any other that are kind of bubbling up? I loved your reference, by the way, in your piece with your colleagues at Politico with Tim Scott, just kind of giving the chuckle and saying this is going to get interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something we've heard from a lot of folks now, is just sort of wanting to let this process play out. And, they understand that there's interest right now, given Leader McConnell's announcement, but this is going to play out over the course of a number of months, I think we'll look to people like Rick Scott to see whether they jump in. My colleagues today reported that former President Trump has encouraged Senator Steve Daines, who's obviously leading the NRSC right now, to jump into the race as well. And, there are other names that have been floated as well, Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio. So I think we'll have to wait and see exactly what this field looks like. There's certainly the conventional sort of three Johns, but I would be shocked if it doesn't grow beyond that. And I think we are going to have to wait and see, how the former president weighs in here. Obviously, this election is going to be a secret election, so senators in some ways have a little bit of insulation from the former president's wrath, potentially. But I think there's no question that his input is going to weigh on the senators pretty heavily as they try to make this decision.
Yeah, no question at all. Before I let you go, Anthony, I just wanted to get your perspective in terms of the timing of this from Senator McConnell. It did catch a lot of people flat-footed. Some people have said, well, maybe he's worried he wouldn't get to deliver that last speech because of some of his health challenges, and so maybe it was important for him to do that. He's also obviously had really no relationship with the former president the last few years, barely even referencing his name on occasion. Does that give Mitch McConnell space to maybe be a little more critical of the former president, knowing he's not going to be the leader after that first Tuesday in November?
Well, I think as you probably know, the Leader McConnell tends to make news when Leader McConnell wants to make news and not before he's ready to make news.
That's right.
And this is no different. I think he's been, certainly if not outwardly critical of the former president, as you say, he's not been really speaking of him at all. And so I wouldn't really expect his stewardship of the conference to change before the November elections. I think, what is potentially different is this is kind of a recognition, if you will, of sort of the Trump ascendancy as part of the Republican Party, and that McConnell's breed of sort of Ronald Reagan-esque conservatism is not necessarily in vogue anymore. And so, how that fight plays out, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. The three Johns would definitely be more of the McConnell vision of the party. And we'll see if there's, some insurgent that wants to come in and try to challenge that.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Great piece, Anthony Adrogna, congressional reporter with Politico. A great piece there. You can check it out at Politico.com, The Insider's Guide to McConnell's Succession Race with Anthony and a number of his colleagues there at Politico. Always appreciate that perspective. Anthony, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great stuff there. This will be one we'll watch play out over the next 8 months. It will be interesting to see the future of the Republicans in the Senate and moving through the presidential race and on into 2025. We'll step aside for a quick break. More Inside Sources coming up next.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Intermountain Medical Center in Murray, LDS Hospital in Salt Lake City, and Utah Valley Hospital in Provo are ranked among the 2023 list for best cancer hospitals in the nation by Newsweek magazine, with a high level of comprehensive personalized care and treatment they provide. Intermountain Cancer Center locations provide an integrated, personalized approach to cancer treatment care, close to home for patients throughout the Intermountain West, as well as telehealth services. Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream, the same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
For John's 60th birthday, his family planned to drive down Old Route 66. But the trip took a detour when his wife got sick with RSV. It's a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems and hospitalizations.
This year, we don't want to cancel our plans. We're protecting ourselves with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine.
Abrysvo, a vaccine to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. It's not for everyone and may not protect all who receive it. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had an allergic reaction to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may decrease your response. Most common side effects are tiredness, headache, injection site pain, and muscle pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Two friends taking pictures of the rising full moon on a summer night.
Two teenage kids doing what teenage kids do.
When a stranger with a gun and a death wish changed everything.
It was violent, it was senseless, and I will never understand it, I will never accept it.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and unfortunately, we're all too familiar with stories about how violence shatters lives. But what we rarely see is how they are rebuilt. In a new podcast, The Letter, we relive tragedy, but only so we can hear the rest of the story. The struggle to reclaim lives, the realities of grief, and the possibilities of forgiveness.
I believe in miracles. Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Tim and Amanda.
Yes, KSL is a trusted institution. I mean, it's a 100-year-old institution, and I know that with that legacy comes a responsibility and a trust. But I want you to know, we have diverse voices at this radio station. Young people, we have people of all different ages, of all different cultural backgrounds, who put their 2 cents into what stories we cover from day to day, a voice that is given to those stories.
Well, I've been kicking around the Salt Lake City market for 40 years. I felt like I needed a decade of radio under my belt before I even attempted to climb that mountain. So as important as KSL is to you, you need to know that it's an important institution for both of us and something that we take very seriously, in the responsibility of providing the right news and information for you and your families every day and carrying on the tradition of this great radio station.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings, or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-Al-Anon or go to alanon.org.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Utah has officially sent off its bid to host the Winter Olympics 10 years from now. Second, a bill that would allow for psychiatric treatments using magic mushrooms and ecstasy is moving quietly through the legislature. Third, congressional leaders still working to put together a spending package to keep the government running. Right now, 55 degrees in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Well, I was debating how we should actually begin this segment of the program. I had toyed with the idea of maybe going with a little bit of Mary Poppins. I love to laugh. Or maybe something about just being completely unserious. The government shutdown showdown that everyone was just waiting with bated breath, edge of our seats, had the panic button ready to go. And guess what? You have to wait. So today, the House passed by 320 to 99 a continuing resolution. Continuing resolution that continues the government for a whopping 7 more days. It basically kicks everything down the road just by a single week. So the first half of the government will be funded by March the 8th, or we'll have a partial government shutdown, and the other will be kicked all the way down to March 22nd. And there you go. Here we are again. Groundhog Day all over again. This is how the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, framed this short-term extension of government funding earlier today during the GOP House press conference. Take a listen.
So, look, the appropriations process is ugly. Democracy is ugly. This is the way it works every year, always has, except that we've instituted some new innovations. We broke the omnibus fever, right? That's how Washington has been run for years. We're trying to turn the aircraft carrier back to real budgeting and spending reform.
That's one way you could spin it. It's one I happen to disagree with the Speaker of the House, and I would disagree with the Democratic Minority Leader as well, who basically said the same thing, that this is hard, this is complicated, this is how we've been doing it. None of that holds water for me, because this is one of the very, very, very few things that Congress is actually responsible for every single year. 12 appropriations bills, pass them in the House, pass them in the Senate, have the president sign them into law, and that funds the government. Not rocket science, not complex, not hard, not difficult. Straightforward, but you have to do the job. You may have heard just a little earlier, Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, very libertarian in his persuasion, a guy who actually lives off the grid on solar panels and an electric vehicle. So he's very interesting that way, and he said, this is just nonsense. This is completely unserious. And he was calling out his Republican colleagues as well as his Democratic colleagues. Say, this is completely unserious. Everyone's been wringing their hands. All the cable news networks have been going wall to wall. Some of them have had countdown clocks of another shutdown showdown coming on Friday at midnight. And now we're going to do it again. We're going to do a continuing resolution. Thomas Massie said, this is completely unserious. He says, and let me show you how unserious Congress actually is. because everyone is saying, well, we need another week so we can have the debate and we can do the hard work and heavy lifting of legislating and governing and getting this done right. And they're all leaving town right now. The House is on their way out the door. They're gone. Jet fumes from Washington Reagan have wafted their way towards the United States Capitol, and the members of Congress are coming running to catch their planes to head home. So, no, they're not working the weekend. No, they're not working through the night to get this done. They're kicking the can down the road, and so guess what? We're going to have the same conversation next week. And on Monday, we'll reset the countdown clocks. We'll re-image the new shutdown, showdown music and stagers on cable news networks. And we'll work our way through the week, and the same thing's going to happen again. And some people will say, but it's complicated. Oh, but this is difficult. No, you're already a year behind. They're actually doing last year's work, in case you're keeping score at home. They should be having great debates today about the budget they have to get done and the appropriations bill they have to get passed before September the 30th of this year. That's what they should be working on. That's what they're supposed to be working on today. But you know what they're doing? They're working on last year's stuff just to keep things at the current levels. So this is not new stuff. This is all old stuff that they just didn't get done. They keep telling the teacher, we didn't get our homework done. We need more time. And so don't for a nanosecond think this is serious, because this is completely unserious. And it's time that we get serious. And as voters, we have to get serious and hold people accountable. This is a no-brainer. This is not hard. This is not complicated. It's very straightforward. It's one of the very few jobs they have. And so don't give me a lot of excuses. Don't give me a lot of runaround stuff. This is straightforward. Do the job. Get the job done. We don't need another shutdown showdown. We don't need anything else. Just do the job. Just get it done. But I'm here to tell you, next week we'll have the same conversation, and it will continue on through the March 22nd when the other half will drop. And put your panic button away, because don't worry, another continuing resolution is in your future and my future and the country's future, because Congress isn't serious about doing one of the few jobs they actually have. And until we get to that, we're going to have trillion-dollar deficits in our spending every year. We're going to add to the $34 trillion that is already crushing the economy, causing inflation to skyrocket, and hurting the most vulnerable among us the most. So we got to get to a different kind of conversation, but just resetting the panic button and the shutdown showdown button is not going to solve the problem. We got to do better. All right, that wraps it up for hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll step aside for some top of the hour news, but don't go anywhere. We're going to kick off hour number 2 with Steve Rockwood and talk about RootsTech 2024. People, millions from around the world weighing in. We'll talk about it coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Traditional single-family starter homes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a garage now out of reach financially for first-time home buyers. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly reports on rethinking what your first home will look like.
Experts with Utah Housing Corporation say starter homes in the 1950s had 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and a carport. But in this economy, condos and townhouses are the way forward into home ownership. A recent report from the Kemsey Gardner Institute shows Utah is building 4 times as many condos than a decade ago.
The report also shows almost every listing under $450,000 is for a small condo or townhome. Most single-family homes start at $500,000. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Israeli Defense Forces say dozens of Gazans who were hoping to get humanitarian aid were killed and injured in a stampede around aid trucks this morning. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge describes the chaos.
Israeli officials claim that the crowd surged towards the trucks. It's dark at the time. Israeli officials say that people were trying to get onto the trucks to take that aid. We're talking about desperate people here, of course. They claim that some people, sadly, were run over by the trucks.
And taking a look at your money at this hour, the Dow Jones average has turned the corner and is now up on the day. The NASDAQ is up as well, about 144 points. And just ahead, it looks like we'll see some warm weather as the clouds move in toward the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, convenience, and exceptional service. 4 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Ford Truck Country. All dedicated to delivering you the best auto experience anywhere. Looking for your first car? Maybe you want rugged power or the stylish ride of your dreams. New or used. See it all at PerformanceBountiful.com. PerformanceBountiful.com.
Would you like to be part of an important research study and receive up to $550? The Beehive study at the University of Utah is comparing how well 2 different FDA-authorized booster vaccines protect people against COVID-19. You can decide to get a booster or not and still participate. By joining the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for completing activities such as weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at www.beehivestudy.com.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have some backups both north and southbound on Bangalore Highway at the intersection of 3100 South. I can't confirm this yet, but by the way traffic is behaving, I think the traffic light is out or malfunctioning at that intersection, and that's what's causing those delays. Do use caution approaching an intersection where the traffic light is not working correctly. Common Spirit Hospitals, Clinics, and Caregivers, all connected to advanced health care in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy with south winds, highs in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. The storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. Right now, 57 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
One of the many great features of the great state of Utah is the statewide passion for family history. Nowhere is that passion more concentrated or on display than during the annual RootsTech conference that emanates right here, downtown Salt Lake City. It's broadcast all around the world. Millions of people join this from all around the planet. It's an extraordinary thing. Whether you're there live or whether you're joining online, there's so many different things that are just so fascinating. And so we're going to take a deep dive look under the headlines, RootsTech 2024. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
It is always a pleasure to have Steve Rockwood on the program. And, of course, today kicks off another amazing RootsTech. It is one of the most extraordinary things that I think we don't even appreciate that emanates from right here in Salt Lake City and hits all points of the compass all around the world. And Steve, I know this is a busy, crazy day and a crazy weekend for you, but welcome back to the show. And here we go, RootsTech 2024.
Thank you, Boyd. It's so good to be with you. I apologize in advance for the background noise, but it's really hopping down here.
That's great. No, we love that. That's real noise. We like real interviews. So, well, give us kind of the high level and an update. This event continues to expand globally. Give us some sense of the reach and what you're hoping people walk away with this year.
You bet. I'll tell you, more than anything, we're just humbled. We just can't believe what's happening with RootsTech. It's just one more way that literally the world is gathering. And that Utah is the epicenter of this. As you know, throughout our history, the state of Utah has really been considered the center of family history, and RootsTech is one manifestation of that. This is the world's largest gathering of people who want to discover, gather, and connect their families, whether they're paid expert genealogists and technologists or just the curious that want to find out who they are, where they come from, and most importantly, from whom they come. And it's all happening right here at the Salt Palace.
It is amazing, and it really is one more evidence. We always talk about it that Utah's no longer the crossroads of the West. It's the crossroads of the world, and I think RootsTech manifests that probably better than anything out there. And give us some sense this year. You have always been so powerful in showing how important it is that we connect to stories, and how will that play out and be featured this year?
Well, you know, story is the great equalizer, if you will. I mean, this is I call it all-star weekend for the wonderful genealogists, the archivists, the librarians, the societies that really fuel this whole industry. And there are thousands of them that come here to the Salt Palace and tens of thousands that come to us online. But it's the broader audience. It's the people that actually benefit from the work of these people. And even if they don't start diving into it themselves. I don't like to say, the beginners. They don't have to be beginners. They just want to find out and connect to their family. And those are the millions that come. I just got a report right now. We just launched, and we already have over 1 million people who have joined us online in one way or another because this is a universal interest. People want to connect. They want to belong. They want to know who they are. And that's why we have this for them.
It's so amazing and so powerful. Give us a little sense in terms of some of those you're going to be featuring, some of the activities that will take place both there at the Salt Palace and online as we roll through the weekend.
Well, you mentioned, so why is the power of story? And I mentioned that it's the story that everyone gets involved. That's what brings everyone to it. And so what you're going to see here, I think, are ways that stories will be able to get generated, preserved, and shared turbocharged. Now, we call this RootsTech. People come and they want to learn about the latest methodologies, the latest breakthroughs of DNA, of genetics, of record keeping, of tree building, and that. But the tech side is the great enabler. And about 7 or 8 years ago at RootsTech, it was a very unique conference because DNA really came to bear. I think you're going to feel the exact same thing this year when it comes to generative AI. Generative AI is the way that you're going to storyize all these names, dates, and places in ways that we never thought possible before.
Wow. Wow. My head's spinning on that one, Steve.
As is mine, as are our wheels are spinning, because this is happening so fast. And the nice thing about this industry, too, when all these breakthroughs come, this industry finds a way to use them responsibly. It finds a way to use them to create light. As you know, you've been part of the incredible headlines just in the last year with generative AI. Appropriately, there's been concerns about responsible use of the risk and concerns. Well, here at RootsTech, you're going to see amazing good use of it, responsible use of it, how it will connect people, how it will create light. And I can't wait to see it. People keep asking me, well, what are we going to see? And quite honestly, I can't answer that. I'll answer really well 3 days from now, because I'm just as curious as everyone else.
That is fantastic. I can't wait to see that all play out. We're going to stay covered on that throughout the weekend and into next week, because these stories this is really, many people look at this as a big event, as kind of a big end, but it's really just a big beginning of what comes next for so many people. What's the one thing that you really hope that people come away from this year's RootsTech maybe thinking different or doing different as it relates to family search, and to these amazing interconnected stories that we have as fellow travelers here on planet Earth?
That's an easy one. First and foremost, I just invite everyone to come and see this. Come and experience it. If you're here within a radius, come to Salt Lake City. There's still time to register if you want to go to all the classes and that, and the main stage. But if not, come and see the expo hall. It's free. You got to come if you're within the distance. Come and feel it. What we really want is for people to say, what I love when people come to RootsTech and they're walking out the door, I love to hear, I had no idea. That's what they say. I had no idea. And it's not just what they learned intellectually. It's because of the connections. It's the feelings that they have of, wow, my family matters. My story matters. I matter. And now I know how a way to capture that. That's what I want people to feel, and especially those that are not in the space. And if you don't live within the radius that you can get here, then log on online, and we are broadcasting as much as we can to you, so you can have that same spirit, that same feeling in the comfort of your own home with your house slippers on.
Yeah, love that, and we love that whole idea of I had no idea. We try to do that every day on this show, and you do it in such a powerful way and help people seeing the interconnectedness. It just breaks down so many of the barriers, and so many of the things that we think are problems in the world really aren't, when you realize how interconnected we really are. Steve Rockwood is the president and CEO of Family Search International, global nonprofit sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is an amazing, extraordinary event. You will walk away with the I had no idea moment, radical curiosity and amazement. That's the name of the game. Steve, a very busy day. We're going to keep following this through the weekend. Thanks for carving out some time for us, and good luck with RootsTech 2024.
Thank you, Boyd. You're the best. Appreciate it.
And just as an additional reminder, for the second year in a row, RootsTech is hosting an after party for young adults ages 18 to 30 at the Salt Palace Convention Center on Friday, March the 1st, 7 to 11:30 p.m. You can go register for that at rootstech.org. They'll have speakers, food vendors, live music, dancing, all the things. The after party at RootsTech, if you're a young adult age 18 to 30, check that out at rootstech.org. We'll be right back with more Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're looking to move out of your parents' place, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive, which is good because your little brother has gotten really territorial. You're blood related. You'd think it would be fine to share food in the fridge. I mean, who writes their name on every individually wrapped slice of cheese, Tyler? Still, you've got to admire the commitment. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and use the savings to help you move out and have all the cheese you want. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
It's finally here.
The day of prophecy has finally arrived.
Dune, Part 2.
He who can destroy a thing has the real control of it.
Friday, Andy and Steve give you the first look at the much-anticipated Dune, Part 2. The Movie Show. Fridays 11 to 1 on KSL News Radio.
America's largest producer of gun shows, Crossroads of the West, comes to the Golden Spike Event Center at the Weber County Fairgrounds this weekend. Check it out.
Awesome selection. Awesome, yeah, just a lot more than I expected to see.
Crossroads of the West gun show this Saturday and Sunday at the Golden Spike Event Center at the Weber County Fairgrounds from 9 to 5 on Saturday and 9 to 4 on Sunday. Your ticket is good both days.
The quality of this particular show is extremely high, and the prices have been very fair.
Hundreds of tables for everyone, from the once-a-year hunter to the avid collector. Crossroads features new and used guns, ammo, gun safes, reloading supplies, knives, hunting equipment, scopes, accessories, and more.
I'm going to tell my friends to come out here tomorrow. Check it out.
Collector guns, military guns, handguns, rifles, shotguns, and police supplies. Some at wholesale prices. Books, jewelry, gift ideas, and door prizes.
If they don't have it here, they don't have it.
This Saturday and Sunday, the Crossroads of the West Gun Show. This is the big one. Now coming with a show at the Golden Spike Event Center at the Weber County Fairgrounds, where you can buy, sell, and trade at all Crossroads gun shows.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,024 off a new furnace and air conditioner, and you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,024 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,024 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Dave and Debbie.
I want our listeners to feel like they have an advocate, that they have somebody that's going to fight for them, challenge the status quo or the pithy soundbite. We have a unique job where we have access to interviews and people that not everyone has. We take that seriously. So if we do feel like we're getting a spin, then we can challenge it. I love it when people tell me, I was just thinking about that question that you asked. I'm glad you asked that question. That's like the height of compliment.
I want our listeners to feel empowered to use the information that they've learned on the Dave and Dujanovic show to help their families, to help make good decisions, help investigate other avenues to maybe protect their family's safety or protect their family's money. I'm hopeful our show leaves our listeners with a sense of empowerment so they can make the best decision possible for themselves and for their families.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, what's a starter home these days? Well, experts say it's likely to look like a condo or a townhome. Second, farmers who choose to forego some of their hay crops might be able to get money from the state to send their unused irrigation water to the Great Salt Lake. And third, dozens of people were injured and killed in a stampede around aid trucks arriving in Gaza. Right now, 57 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson.
On Utah's home for elevated conversation.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, no matter where you fall in your perspective on immigration and border security, it is an integral part of an American conversation, and it actually has been from the very beginning. Most people don't recognize or remember that in the Declaration of Independence, once they started to get to the list of grievances of what was going wrong or what they wanted changed, the importance of immigration was way before they got to things like taxation without representation. So immigration has always mattered in this country, and right now we have a system that is flagging and failing so many. And so it's a time for a different kind of conversation about how we address that. How do we make sure we maintain the dignity of human beings and the integrity of our borders and sovereignty? What kinds of conversations should we be getting to? Well, someone who's constantly engaged in that kind of thinking, Fiona Harrigan, of course, is associate editor at Reason.com. She primarily covers immigration and foreign policy. And Fiona, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So today we want to get to your piece talking about a really crucial part of this whole conversation, and that is the green card process. Just tee that up for our listeners.
Yeah, and the source of this is a really important and eye-opening report from the Cato Institute that came out recently. And this report covers a lot of the dysfunction in the process that delegates green cards. And at a basic level, a green card is what lets someone live and work in the U.S. as a permanent resident and eventually provides a pathway to citizenship. So this is a really important step for immigrants who want to live here long term. The U.S. gives out a certain number of green cards across several different categories every single year, but several of those categories are capped, which means only a certain number can be given out every year. Demand far outweighs supply, which leads to a backlog. And that's what this Cato report really gets into. In the late 90s, there were 10 million pending applications in the green card backlog, but that backlog has now more than tripled to 34.7 million applications today. But despite that historic demand for green cards, only about 1.1 million green cards will be given out this year, which is about 3% of applicants. So this demand is a really, really good thing. It signals that there are a lot of people, whether they're employment-based applicants or family-based applicants, who want to build lives here and contribute to the economy. But our failure to meet it is a really debilitating thing for those goals. There's a lot of growth and a lot of progress that's being left on the table.
Yeah, no question about that. And I think it's so interesting when you look at a lot of the rules around this, and you pointed this out in your piece and from the Cato report, looking at some of these caps. Describe for us these caps. One, I keep trying to get my head around the fact that we have 34 plus million applications that are just pending, and only about 1 million of those can go through. Some of that is based on this idea of the caps. Explain that for us.
Right, and a lot of these caps kind of come in as ways to ostensibly protect Americans, American workers. That's a really big one. So only so many foreign employees can come in a given year and adjust to green cards. But you know, if you think about it, we have so many open jobs and there's pretty low unemployment right now. So a lot of the reasoning behind these caps just doesn't make sense. Same for family-based applicants. Why are we denying people the opportunity to reunify with their families? And a lot of what those backlogs create is these insane wait times for people. In the Cato report, one of the most striking factoids is that Indians, who are half of the applicants in employer-sponsored categories, they might wait up to a century for a green card. So in effect, there are people who are dying long before they ever get a chance to secure permanent residency here. It's really mind-boggling.
Yeah, and you also pointed out in the piece that fewer than 1% who want to move permanently to the U.S., and they want to do it legally, less than 1% are going to actually be able to do it legally. And so, again, we create all these perverse incentives that cause people to come here illegally. But again, a lot of these are not the things that we normally think about. You talk about this large number from India and what they would add to our communities and to our businesses and to the economy. And some of them, a century is a pretty long time to wait for a green card.
Yeah, and I will add that a lot of these people who want to adjust to green cards, they already live here. They're just on temporary work visas waiting for a green card to become available, which means that ultimately they have to renew these temporary visas, and they don't have any assurance that they're going to be here long term. If it's employment-based, they might get laid off and they might have to go home, and essentially, their work for the past decade or two has been for nothing. They don't have any way to stay here permanently. So these things are things that really, limit the economy's growth, and they also push people to be more willing to immigrate illegally, right? Because if the legal system is inaccessible, people are going to look for the easier option. And in so many cases, it is much easier to immigrate illegally than it is to immigrate here legally.
Yeah, and Fiona, I'm so glad you pointed out the fact that so many of these people are here in the country. They've come on work visas, so they're part of our communities already. They're part of our businesses already, and then they have to go through the mental gymnastics and the legal hurdles and hoops that just seem to go on forever. And again, none of that is good for anybody.
Exactly. And we should recognize that this demand for green cards, this demand for a way to stay in the country permanently is a really good thing, that we're lucky to have so much interest in, there's so much interest around the world in becoming an American and becoming a contributor to American communities and economies. And our failure to recognize that is really only to our disadvantage.
Yeah. And as you pointed out in the piece, that all of this, getting the system right, benefits everybody, including American citizens, including the American economy, and getting it right. So as you look at the path forward, what are you keeping your eye on in terms of any spaces where there might be some movement politically and congressionally that might help to start changing the dynamic in this process?
Immigration these days is so directly tied to border security and border conversations that I find that there's not a lot of room for conversations about incremental reform and little things around the margins that people can agree on across the aisle. So that's been disappointing, but I'm hoping that as people see the effects of a lethargic immigration system, a lethargic legal immigration system, that they come together and kind of settle on these common sense reforms, these things that can help the economy, that can help bring more high-skilled, highly educated workers here, family members, refugees. It extends to so many aspects of who we bring in and how we design our system. So I'm hoping that as people recognize these things, that they can kind of settle on reforms, but it's an uphill battle for sure.
It is, and I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Fiona, in terms of so much of it has been tied to border security and illegal immigration that we're often missing the point. This is one of those that always astounded me when I was there as a chief of staff, that everybody agrees. Everybody knows this is a good thing. Legal immigration is a good thing for this country, and if we could set the other political stuff on the side, we could get, as you described it, Fiona, common sense, rational, reasonable things that do both of those things, that ensure the dignity of human beings and our fellow travelers and the integrity of our borders and our laws. Those are compatible principles, and I think we can get there. Fiona, great piece today. Fiona Harrigan, of course, associate editor at reason.com. Fiona, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll be back. More Inside Sources coming up next.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A man who had been shot was found lying on the ground overnight in an East Side Bountiful neighborhood. Lieutenant Andrew Smith with Bountiful PD says the man received life-saving treatment while being transported to the hospital, but there he was ultimately pronounced dead.
We have about 18 casings that were located on scene, so it's very evident that it is not a self-inflicted.
So far, no suspects are in custody. Since Lake Powell first filled up in the 1960s, dozens of boats have sunk in the lake. There's also other debris that could be a risk to people using the reservoir. Now the National Park Service is trying to find out where a lot of that wreckage is located. It's asking the public to share information about boats and other debris to help with future cleanup and salvage efforts. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden at the southern border getting another first-hand look at the problem of immigration. Now, some critics say the president is visiting an area that hasn't seen the same numbers of migrants that have come through other areas. ABC's Mary Bruce is in Brownsville.
The White House is pushing back, insisting he will still get a very good sense of what is happening here along the border. And they also note that one of the reasons that they chose this spot is because it highlights, what can really happen when local and federal officials and authorities work together, which obviously is not the case in some other areas of Texas where you have seen some conflict between the two.
And former President Trump was visiting the border in the Eagle Pass area of Texas today. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closing trading today up 47 points. The S&P 500 was up 26. The NASDAQ up 144 points today. And our KSL weather, we've got some clouds building up the next couple of days, but it'll stay warm until Saturday at least. KSL News Time, 2:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
37,000, 25, 1. These are the three numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need to make the right business decisions instantly. 37,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to Netsuite by Oracle. Netsuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. Netsuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down expenses. 1. Because your business is one of a kind, so you get a customized solution for all of your KPIs in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow, all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist, designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/company. That's netsuite.com/company to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/company.
Les Olson IT now provides building security solutions. Do you need physical access control for your facilities? Are you looking for video surveillance systems accessible in the palm of your hand? Les Olson IT has what you need, and their low-voltage network cabling specialists will install it and make sure it's working the way it should. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
How much is your health worth? I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I thought about it a few years ago before I lost the weight with Soda Weight Loss. And I thought, man, if I just lose some weight, that would help with so many other things. Because my doctor had talked to me about how instead of taking a pill for cholesterol and everything else, why not try to lose weight? Well, I did. I finally did with Soda Weight Loss. They made it easy to lose weight and to address my health issues. I feel so much better. I feel healthier, and I can do so much more. And I'm not the only one. Here, for example, this is John.
Well, my diabetes A1C was 5.89, 6 point something. And when I went back, I was at 4.9. Joint mobility is so much better.
There is no part of your health that's not going to improve when you lose weight. Soda will get you there. And here's the best part, keep you there for the rest of your life. Go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is state of the art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
A crash with injuries westbound I-80 prior to State Street, blocking a left lane and causing delays. And leftover delays northbound I-15 from about 1300 south up to the I-80 junction. Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah is a full-service parking lot paving, repair, and maintenance company servicing the Wasatch Front. Contact GoPave Utah today. GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather cloudy with south winds, highs in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. Right now 57 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We're staying with the conversation just a little bit longer today when it comes to the border and immigration. Of course, we're watching on all of the screens from the cable news networks. We have dueling things going on with the current president, the former president, down at different places along the border. And after all will be said and done today, much more will be said than will ever be done. And none of it, I think, will actually move us closer to the kinds of solutions and the kinds of conversations that we need to have as it relates to all of these things. So we talked about green cards in the last segment. We've talked about some of the important elements to all of this in terms of having rule of law and compassion being compatible principles, which they are. And so many of these things that could be solved, I think, in an afternoon on the floor of the House and the Senate because everybody agrees. But many are far too focused on the politics and the wedge issue of it rather than getting to the principle and the policy pieces that could actually solve the problem. Fascinating piece in the New York Times today that I think is part of the right kind of conversation we need to be having. And it's the fact that immigrants are crucial to the economy. And we're doing it and going about it in all the wrong ways and looking at all the wrong places. Lydia DePillis is a writer for the New York Times, a reporter for the New York Times. She covers the American economy with an emphasis on how American workers and businesses are affected by public policy. And Lydia joins us on the line. Lydia, welcome to Inside Sources.
Good to be here.
Great piece today, and thank you for getting us towards a conversation that matters when it comes to immigration. Talk to us about this in terms of the economic dividend of immigration and some of the legal and some of the logistical hurdles you pointed out in your piece today.
That's right. You know, I don't think anyone would really argue that immigrants have been so important to the American economy for centuries. Obviously, that's how most of our ancestors got here. The question has been about what happens when a lot of immigrants come very quickly into a few places, right? And that is really what is causing the difficulty and the consternation these days. And, you know, it's always been hard to absorb people quickly when they come in a sort of concentrated fashion in a short period of time. So I don't think we should think of this as like totally unprecedented. But I think that the general precept that immigration is healthy for the U.S. economy is complicated when you have a legal situation that makes it difficult for people to have any kind of predictability, for them to migrate where the job demands are highest, to get the kinds of training and support that they need to be successful and really contribute to their greatest abilities.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing. And you point this out in the piece, and I just loved the fact that that immigrants coming in have re-energized shrinking towns, struggling cities. Before, we talked about in our last segment how in the Declaration of Independence, way before they got to taxation without representation, they wanted more immigration to be able to happen, and we still need that today.
Yeah, you know, it was fascinating, and I couldn't get into all of this in the piece, but a lot of cities have set up what are sort of called welcoming organizations, especially in sort of post-industrial places that had been shrinking for a long time. I mentioned an organization in Philadelphia, but also in the Detroit area. That has been a very intentional, long-term effort to try to reversed population decline in that area of Michigan. And super successful, right? Like lots of, especially refugee communities, have created, whole towns that are vibrant places and bring a lot of diversity and excitement to those parts of the country. And it's also true in upstate New York, right? There's been refugee resettlement operations in places like Utica and Rochester. So you have Hmong people and Somalian people, and refugees, of course, come with a lot of support. They get work training, housing assistance, and it doesn't help them forever. And a lot of it, they have to get on their feet quickly. But the folks who are coming in generally from places like West Africa now, Nicaragua, Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, they're entitled to none of that, right? And so unless they have family connections or their own wealth, which is not that common, they have very few resources. And that's why at the moment, cities like New York, Chicago, Denver are having to spend so much of their budgets, which is, honestly, certainly concerning. Like nobody's minimizing that.
Yeah, no question about that. And one of the things that you also pointed out in your piece is one, just the likelihood of immigrants working. So that work rate, I think, is a very fascinating number. And then the fact that we're finally getting to the point where we're getting some of those authorizations moving through. They were at such low levels for so long, but that's starting to pick up. Tell us the impact of that and what the projections are for that moving forward.
That's right. So immigrants have always participated in the labor force at higher rates than native-born workers. In part, that's because they're younger. They tend to have more children, and so that it's just sort of a natural demographic thing. And the work permit situation was really difficult because a lot of these big city mayors were saying, "Listen, we can't support these people forever." But according to immigration law, a law that went into effect in 1996, those seeking asylum could not even get their work permit until 6 months after they filed their application, which is no easy feat on its own. And then those applications were taking, the better part of a year to finish a couple of years ago and complete and turn around. So the Biden administration really got on top of that, in part because of a court order, actually. And so they've been processing these at the rate of, tens of thousands a month. It was up to 1.2 million work permits for this set of folks coming in for humanitarian reasons. So that's a dent on the workforce if those people can actually get to work and find jobs. And it's interesting. I was looking at Utah's unemployment rate. I'm sure you know what. It's among the lowest in the country, and I'm sure there's a lot of employers who can't find the people they need. And so if more of those folks could find their way to Salt Lake City or other cities, I'm sure they would be put to use pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great piece. Lydia DePillis, a reporter for the New York Times. There is a dividend to all of this when we start looking at those coming to the country not as liabilities to be managed, but as human assets, fellow travelers, immense potential to make a difference in our communities, and there's a way to do that. Lydia, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure thing.
All right, we'll be right back. Final thoughts on Inside Sources coming up next.
Maybe it's because they're excited about Leap Day at the end of February. This is Jeff Kaplan. At Advanced Window Products, Leap Day means they get an extra day to build windows. But for you, it's an incredible opportunity. This month, they'll give you $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. $2,500 off on the highest quality custom window frames and double pane glass. They'll lower your energy bill and give your home an exciting new look. Any style, any color. At Advanced Window Products, you save money because they cut out the middleman. They build your windows right here in Salt Lake City. They install the windows and they guarantee them for life. So beat the rush. Once it gets warmer, their schedule backs up and you have to wait months and months for installation. So make the call and get to the head of the line. Save $2,500 and get custom precision windows built right here in Salt Lake City. Advanced Window Products offers 60-month 0% financing. You can buy now, pay later, but call now. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
If you're looking to move out of your parents' place, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive, which is good because your little brother has gotten really territorial. You're blood related. You'd think it would be fine to share food in the fridge. I mean, who writes their name on every individually wrapped slice of cheese, Tyler? Still, you've got to admire the commitment. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and use the savings to help you move out and have all the cheese you want. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Hey! Have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
I'm author Richard Paul Evans. My wife once told me that I share too much. I probably do, but maybe that's why I've had 46 consecutive New York Times bestsellers. It's also why I've named my new book, Sharing Too Much, Musings from an Unlikely Life. Sharing Too Much is a private look into my thoughts on love, marriage, the world, and life as a writer. For my readers, you'll get to know me more intimately, the husband, father, and the writer behind the books and movies that have inspired millions worldwide. The national reviews have been great. She Reads writes, a most anticipated anthology. Evans' wise insights and powerful advice is the gift that keeps on giving. Caucus writes, Evans shares a half-century of ruminations, succinct musings meant to inspire. Sharing Too Much contains 59 essays, including How I Saved My Marriage, which had more than 100 million readers worldwide. Sharing Too Much by Richard Paul Evans. On sale now at your nearby bookstore or online. Also available in audiobook and ebook.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Trent Reed with Ryan Valuation, formerly Economics Partners. We built one of the premier valuation firms in the country, then were acquired by Ryan Tax, for a great valuation, by the way. Now, as Ryan Valuation, we're the same top valuation practice with the resources of a global firm. Love him or hate him, or anything in between, if Trump had hired us, he wouldn't have New York claiming he owes them $354 million. I'm half kidding, but in all seriousness, there is no better team to hire for your valuation needs than my team. Whether you're an attorney needing help with litigation over a valuation matter, a business owner or executive needing your company valued for tax, financial reporting, or strategic reasons, a private equity partner needing valuation of your portfolio, or an accountant with a client needing a valuation, Ryan Valuation is the right call. We're headquartered here in Utah, but do our work nationwide. To hire the best, email us at valuations@ryan.com. That's valuations@ryan.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Bountiful police investigating a fatal shooting that happened overnight. Second, the National Park Service trying to locate sunken boats in Lake Powell. Third, President Biden and former President Trump both visited different areas of the border with Mexico today. Right now, 57 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson, and if you just joined us, we've been spending the last couple of segments of the show talking about various aspects of border security and immigration. I had some great conversations. Lydia DePillis, of course, from the New York Times, was just with us, talking about some of the benefits that come and how some of those immigrants coming across, if we do it properly, could actually pay a great dividend, especially in some of our cities that are struggling. Utah, of course, has been a model to the country as it relates to dealing with refugees and helping them become part of community, getting jobs, starting to add value, and to become valued members of our communities. So we're going to continue to watch all of that. Of course, the big headline of the day has been around the dueling visits to the border by the current president and the former president. We've been breaking down both of those visits as they are partly political, part policy. Currently, the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, is in Brownsville, Texas, and is giving a press conference there. Let's just dip in for a minute to see how the president is framing his visit to the border.
We work for the American people. Let me end with this. I understand my predecessor's an Eagle Pass today. So here's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Instead of playing politics with this issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me, or I'll join you in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. You know and I know it's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done? Let's remember who the heck we work for. We work for the American people, not the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We work for the American people. And let's remember who we are. We're the United States of America. No, I mean this. Think about this. There's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing when we work together. And if all things we should be working together on is this, we have the formula to get it done. God bless you all, and may God protect our Border Patrol.
That's President Joe Biden in Brownsville, Texas today, closing out his remarks with a call to his rival, the former president, Donald Trump, both at border cities and communities today. And President Biden saying, let's come together on this, calling for the former president to join him. He said, or I will join you, and let's get some serious legislation done. Now, there's a lot underneath all of that, and we'll continue to break all of that down as we go through the afternoon here on KSL News Radio. We'll break it down tomorrow. In terms of the policy pieces to all of this that often get lost in the political posturing of it all, and I will be very honest, I actually think Nikki Haley got it right. Both of these visits to the border are very political. Both the presidents share some of the responsibility in terms of what's happening at the border. Neither of them have been able to pass legislation. Neither of them have been able to move forward in significant ways to actually change the dynamic at the border. And so there are some very simple policy things that we need to get to, that we can get to. And I maintain that most of the Congress believes in and wants to get done, except for the fact that they fear the politics. Now, I agree with President Biden's statement at the end that we shouldn't have people just calling from the sidelines, don't do this, it's bad politically. We should have people stepping to the front and saying, here's a policy, there's a policy, let's get this policy together and let's get this done. That's very different. We get what you're against. We get the positioning as it relates to the politics and presidential elections. I get it. And yet, I think President Biden got it right today. We should all remember who they work for. They work for the American people. They don't work for the Democratic Party. They don't work for the Republican Party. They don't work for President Biden. They don't work for former President Trump. Members of Congress work for the American people, and they should remember that and get to it, because I think there's a very easy path to get it all done. It's not a matter of whether or not they can do it. It's not even a matter of whether or not they agree on it. The issue is, do they have the political courage to actually do it? That's the biggest test, and that's the biggest fear. And we've seen that play out on both sides. Both sides have played the game. Both sides have drugged their feet on the issue when it was to their political advantage. Both sides have tried to push things forward when it was to their political advantage. The important thing is that we actually get to the policy advantage that will make a difference and help us solve the issue once and for all and get it straight. And there's always going to be immigration to this country. It's part of who we are. It's part of what the nation has made the nation great. There are a great need, and we just need to get it right. It's that simple. And so we have to get to the simple solution. Don't let them convince you that it's too complicated or complex. All right, I want to round out the day today. We had a great conversation at 2:05 today with Steve Rockwood. RootsTech, of course, kicked off at the Salt Palace Convention Center today. It is a massive event. If you haven't been over there, you should go check it out. There's a lot of that is free and open displays to the public. You can just wander through. It's a wow moment in there for sure. You can still register to attend some of those classes and training, either there live at the Salt Palace, or you can do it online virtually as well. And there are so many things. They're not just for historians, not just for those in genealogical research and so on. There are so many important things, especially when it comes to story. One of the things that really struck me as they kicked off RootsTech this year, and this thing is a global thing. So we spoke to Steve Rockwood earlier, and they had already had over 1 million people online joining in the conversation, being part of those trainings and all the events there with RootsTech. But one of the ways they've kicked it off, and one of the main themes driving this year, is that your story is worth remembering. And everybody has a story. Everybody has a story, and everybody wants to be part of a story. Story drives so much of our behavior. It drives the